Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is day one of our Houzz Pro Spring Designer Academy. Today's topic, we are going to be going over winning projects and staying on track. My name is Andy. I am with the product marketing team. I used to work with our QuickBooks integration. I'm sure I've probably met or talked with some of you over the years. Today's agenda is going to be the following. We are going to be covering contracts and retainers, the Clipper, mood boards, proposals and invoicing, QuickBooks Online integration, client financing with Figure, and time and expenses. If you do feel free to jump in the chat, introduce yourself, say where you're from, say hello to everyone. If any questions do come up, please use the Q&A section. You'll see that over to the right. And I am going to turn it over to our host, Orion.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for attending. I'm excited to be here and presenting to you all today. As Andy mentioned, we have quite a bit that we'll be covering today. My name is Orion. I've been with Houzz for almost 4 years, may have managed some of your accounts, talked to some of you guys as well. So thank you so much for being here. I will go ahead and share my screen and jump right in. Just bear with me. Okay, great. And then Andy, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, we are good.
Okay, cool. Let me just put this on over. Awesome. So I'm logged in on my Houzz Pro account, and some of you might notice that now on your homepage in your Create New section, you see this wonderful contract button. So contracts are one of the newest features that we've added based on the feedback that we've received from everyone. I'm really excited about it. I know a lot of professionals I've talked to are really excited as well. If everyone just wants to drop in the chat, how are you currently doing your contracts, and or have you used the contracts feature in Houzz Pro? I'd love to see if any of you guys have used this yet. And while you're dropping that in, I will pop into a project to show you how we're able to create this contract. In your project, it's going to be in your planning section. You will see this contracts tab. So I'll go ahead and click on it. And this is going to be my contract screen. With a project, you can have multiple contracts. I know sometimes you need one for a warranty, one for your initial contract, or just different phases throughout the project. So you can definitely have multiple contracts per project. To create my contract, I'm going to go ahead and click on this new contract dropdown. I can create this fully from scratch. I can also upload a document. If you do upload a document, what the system is going to do is take the text that's on that document and add it to our editable form. So you can go in and make edits, which is super nice. Or I can create one from a template. For the sake of the demo, I will create from a template. You will have a template in here. So I'll go ahead and click Create. And then as you can see, I have this fully built out contract via the template that we just created this from. At the top here, I'm going to have my text options. So text sizing, bold, italics, underline if I need to highlight something. I can also change the justification, add bullet points, numbers, add in hyperlinks if needed. I know some states are pretty particular on what the contract looks like, spacing, size of font. So you do have that customization all up at the top here for you. As we scroll in to look at this contract, you'll see that this little highlighted section here of my company name is actually our smart text. So the really great thing is that I can go ahead and add in smart text for different items that are needed to be added to the contract. So here I'm going to put my company address. So I can put my address line. Maybe I need to put in my company city, And then I'll go ahead and add in my state. And that way I have this again in this contractual document that I'm then sending over to my clients. Same thing here. I can also add in the client's name, and then I would just pop in, and this will pull all the information directly from my project. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my screen there. Let's try that again. Clicked the wrong button here. Okay, here we go. Perfect. So now I have the client's name there. You can do this throughout the entire contract. I do have this template. I can go in and edit lines as needed. Now, let's say that I've created this maybe from scratch and I want to save this as a template to use on future projects. I can do that simply by clicking on this Actions button and then Save as Template. I can create the template name and then I'll simply click Save and it will save this for future use. In this Actions dropdown as well, I can always duplicate and edit this contract. A nice feature is I can duplicate it within the project, or maybe I need to use the same contract for another project. I do have that capability as well. I can download it as a PDF, print, archive, or delete directly from this menu. At the top here, I also have my automations feature. So maybe I have sent my contract to my client and they haven't yet signed. I can go ahead and send out automatic reminders so I don't have to be going after my client and saying, hey, have you signed this contract yet? The system will automatically send those reminders for you, which is really nice. You can come in here and edit the verbiage of the message as well. And then if you want a custom thank you message, once they've signed the contract, they will get an email thanking them. So you can always change this to be more in line with your company verbiage. And then again, you'll just click save at this bottom right corner to save any changes that you've made while you were in there editing your automations. Andy, do we have any questions so far on anything that we've covered within the contracts?
Yes, we had someone asking about page number and logos, which may be more of product feedback, but I'll let you answer if we have ability for numbers and logos on pages.
So those items would definitely be product feedback. I know logos, I've heard that as well. So we will submit that product feedback. Again, we have submitted this, so hopefully it will be coming soon.
And then one other question, is the contract state rule specific? As I know there's probably different rules, things like that, legalities from state to state.
So it is not. It definitely would be best to connect with your legal counsel to make sure that it is in line with your state guidelines, because I do know states, even counties within states, can be different. So I would definitely just make sure that you're checking with legal counsel.
Great. And one other quick question. Do you mind showing where to access contracts again?
Yeah, no problem. So let me pop out of this real quickly and then we'll pop right back in to finish looking at this. So in your project, you will have contracts under the planning section. So it should be that third item on that left-hand menu. And then on your homepage in that create new section, there should be a little widget that says contracts, and you can create a new contract from the Houzz Pro homepage directly.
Thank you.
Of course. Perfect. So then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the document just to show you where we can adjust the signature preferences. So here's where we would require the signature. This will say company signature. Maybe I want it to say my business name, so I can add that in here. Client signature, I can add in my client's name. And then a nice feature as well, a question I get a lot is maybe we want multiple people signing this one contract. You now have the ability to click add signature, and you can add a secondary signature requirement for this document. And then when I want to send this to my client, I'm going to go ahead and just click preview so we can preview what this contract will look like. So you can kind of scroll through, look at everything. And then when you click send, you can send this directly to your client through Houzz Pro. the other option is you do have this copy link button as well. So maybe I already have communication with my client outside of Houzz for whatever reason. I want to send it in that email chain. I can simply copy that link. And then I have this contract here sent to the client. So there's a few different options. They can either scroll to the bottom. If they click sign contract here, they can also just bypass the whole scroll, but we do want them to scroll that to the bottom. So I'll just click to sign as my client here. And then my client can either do written or they can opt for text. There is a checkbox. They do need to confirm that they've read and agreed to the terms of this contract before they click save. And then that contract has been approved and signed. And then your client can also adjust a message to you if they want, or they can just click done. And then that contract is signed. You will get notified that this has been signed. And then what's really great is that a copy of the contract will be saved to the project itself. So if I go back to my main contract homepage, you'll see this is a link to the signed copy. The signed copy will live in the files and photos of the project itself, so I can always go back in and access it if needed. And then here's that contract here with their signature. And then it will have that date automatically added. Are there any other questions, Andy, on contracts before we move forward to retainers?
Yes, just wanted to clarify, the contract feature is not available on all subscription levels. It's on the custom package, I believe.
That is correct. Yes, it is a custom exclusive feature.
Okay. So if you're not seeing that in your account, you should see the option to upgrade to have that added to your account. And then customizations such as font, color, logo, all of that. I know logos are not, that's more of a product feature request, but customizing font, font color, font size, things like that.
So font size, yes. Font color, we do not have available yet. We can definitely submit that as feedback. And then the font type, we don't have that feature quite yet, but we can definitely submit that as feedback. I know, I believe that is something that's actually already on our radar, but we will definitely submit that additional feedback. But this little drop down here is where you can go ahead and change the size of the font within the contract.
Great. And then I think last question, if there's more than one signature, can those people also be added to the email sent out if there's like multiple signatures required?
Yeah, so when you go to send this, you can add emails in the CC field, or in this to field, you can add additional emails. So yes, most definitely.
Great.
Awesome. Well, if there's no more questions on contracts, I'll move over to retainers. And if there are additional questions, we can always get to them at the end. But retainers is going to be in our finance section of our project menu. And then this is where we can go ahead and create the retainer request to send to our client. I know a lot of designers I talk to work heavily on taking that retainer before they even start the project. So you can do that directly in your Houzz Pro account. All I'm going to do here is click new retainer, and this will create this retainer document for me. My business information is here. Client information is going to be on this right-hand side. Let's say one question I get a lot is maybe I don't want my street address showing. It could be my house, or I just don't need my client to know where that street address is. I just want the city and state to show. This will be true for a proposal, an invoice, any financial document you're sending. If you click on this little pencil here, I can go ahead and hide this field, and I can save that. And now my street address is hidden. So just a little call out because it is a question that I get quite a bit. And then scrolling down, so this will be the name of the project by default. You can always adjust this as needed. This will say retainer. The document number will be a retainer document number, so all of that will automatically populate here. Date is going to show the date created, and then I can go ahead and add a due date on here. So maybe I want this due by Friday. And then here is this retainer item. So quantity 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the cost for my retainer. And then you'll see this total column here. Processing fee, this section is if you are taking online payments in Houzz Pro, you have your online payments set up, you can set your processing fees however you would like them to be taken for this document if your client is paying online. And then here we have the payment line item. And then I'm going to go ahead and just change this date. I want this due again on the 16th. So I'm going to go ahead and update that. And then let's say maybe my client wants to make multiple payments. I can schedule another payment if needed, or I can just leave it at that one payment. Again, exactly how you and your client have agreed to this, you can go ahead and set that up. As we scroll down, you do have a files section, so I can attach any files that are either uploaded to the project or from my computer, or if you have that Google Drive integration, you can upload them from your Google Drive as well. And then we have our terms and conditions section. So I'll say these are my retainer terms and conditions. Again, you can write whichever terms and conditions in here. What's really great is I have this save as default option. So maybe on all future retainers, I want these specific terms and conditions to be featured. I'm just going to click save as default. And now that default has been updated. Again, you have your text customization here. So bold, italics, underlined, and then you have bullets, numbers, and you can change that justification. If I want to hide my terms and conditions, this little I here, I can hide that. If you see that throughout any of the documents in Houzz Pro, it's basically just Houzz Pro saying, do you want this visible to your client or do you want to hide it? If it has a line through it, then it's going to be hidden and only visible to me. Here in the memo, I can do the exact same thing as terms and conditions. I can write a memo and save that as a default. What I've seen quite a few designers do as well is maybe I don't want this to say memo. I want this to say scope of work. You can also adjust the titles of these. You can drag and drop to change the order. So you can fully customize this retainer document as needed. And then when we're ready, we can click preview and we can go ahead and see what the client is going to see. So here's their retainer. And then here's this payment due. Again, I can click send and I can send this directly to my client from my Houzz Pro account, or we can copy the link and do the same thing that we did with that contract. And then this is what the client will see. If I have my online payments set up, they can go ahead and make an online payment via credit card or bank transfer, depending on your online payment settings. I don't have it set up in my demo account, so I will show you how we can manually log the payment. So if I go back to my retainer, I'm going to go back to edit. Again, we want to make sure that we're in edit. And then now you'll see it's been shared and sent. And then I can come down here, log payment. Maybe my client paid me via check. You can adjust the reference number if needed. I want to send a receipt to my client. I'm going to go ahead and click done. Now my payment has been logged and there will be a $5,000 payment available on the project to use across different documents. Andy, are there any questions on retainers before we move on?
Yes. How is the retainer section different from the proposal section?
The retainer, here's the thing. All of the documents are going to look very similar, but a retainer is simply you collecting this money up front to have and then use throughout the project. So the proposal we'll get into in a moment. That's where we'll add different items. Maybe I'm sourcing items such as the furniture, or I have my design time on there that I'm proposing so that they can kind of see the full scope of the project.
Great. Let's see in the chat. We had, is there a reminder to send, which I believe was a question about retainers, setting a reminder to send that out.
I don't believe that we have automations yet for retainers, but we can definitely submit that feedback. The automations is that little lightning bolt. We'll see them on proposals as well, but we can definitely submit that feedback.
Great. I think that is it for questions.
Cool. And then just before we do move on to the Houzz Pro Clipper, I just want to show you, if you click back into the retainers and credits section on your project, since we took that $5,000 payment and we've not used it, it will show that we have $5,000 available from that retainer. Perfect. And then I will now move forward and show you guys where you can download the Houzz Pro Clipper if you do not yet have it. Maybe pop in the chat if you're using that Houzz Pro Clipper, how you're liking it and enjoying it. And then if you're not yet using the Clipper is a Google Chrome extension, so you will need to be on a Google Chrome browser. If you hover over this little settings gear in your bottom left, and then click on Clipper tool, this will take us to the page where we can go ahead and then get the Clipper extension. There is also a tutorial video, so you can watch how to download the Clipper, use the Clipper. But if I click Get Clipper, this will bring me to the Chrome store where I can go ahead and add it. I already have mine added, so it's going to ask me if I want to remove it. And then to use the Houzz Pro Clipper, so I will go to a website here. I'm on Visual Comfort. I have a light sourced that I want to present to my client. So I'm going to click on my Houzz Pro Clipper. And then the first thing I want to do is clip my product images. So again, I'll select the ones without the background and then go ahead and click Clip. To assign my product title, I'm going to click on my little hand icon here. As I hover over each section and click on that highlighted section, I'll get this pop out, and then I can do product title. I can add the cost, and then I want my specifications, so I'll add that into client description. And then again, I can scroll through, and I'm going to add this to my lighting category. I'm going to add this to Visual Comfort just so that I keep that organized. And then I selected my project, the room. I'm going to add this directly to my selections board. And then I added in my markup so that it's automatically assigned to this item. And then once I'm done, I'm just going to go ahead and click Save to Houzz Pro, and I'll get a confirmation saying that it's been added.
Great.
Perfect. Are there any questions on the Clipper before I move on?
Yes, we have. If you clip more than one picture, can you choose which picture to appear on the proposal?
If you clip more than one image, you'll get multiple images on the proposal that the client can click through. But let's say like for a mood board, yes, you'll be able to choose which image you're using, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to mood boards. And then when we get to the proposal, I'll show you what that looks like as well.
Great. Is there a way to save net pricing and retail pricing?
I mean, not in the Clipper. You would basically have to put cost and markup, but we can definitely submit that as feedback.
Perfect. Okay.
The workaround to that I would recommend is in the cost field, you could put your cost of that net pricing, then you'd have your markup. And then if you want to just note what the retail pricing is, you can add it in the client description or you also have the additional details section here. I guess, so yeah, you could add it into this MSRP field, but you would have to add that in.
Great. I think that's it for Clipper questions right now.
Cool. I will pop back to our project, and then we'll take a peek at Houzz Pro mood boards. So I will show you what a well built out mood board looks like that I have in my account that's multiple pages, and how we can add additional items and customize this further. Perfect. So here is my multi-page mood board. You can see down below, I have each of the pages, and then I have the ability to add a new page if needed. On the pages themselves, you do have the page title, so I can adjust this just by clicking into this box here. And then I have all of my features for my mood board. So I have my text box option here. If I click this, it will go ahead and allow me to add in a text box. Here's my text box. If I click in, I do have the option to change the font. I know that was a question on contract. So font and color, you do have the option to change on the mood board. You can do custom colors, or you can use any of the Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore colors that we have in the system. And then you can change the size from this drop down here. My zoom in, zoom out, my pan. So you have all kind of your viewing options here. And then I do have the ability to draw lines on the mood board if needed. I do have arrows, and then I can also add in measurements via the ruler. As you can see here, so on this page, I do have a background color. If you want to adjust the background color when you click on the, let me click on my hand, the background of your mood board, it'll pop up with your background here. And then again, you can do a custom color, or you can do Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore different swatches for that background color. Adding items onto our mood board, so we can see this rug is behind these items. So when I click on my different items, I do have my 3 dots. So this will give me my more menu options. And then I have my flip feature. I can crop the image. I can edit the image background. So you can do manual, automatic, or AI powered. This is super helpful when you do have an image clipped that has a background. The AI powered is amazing at removing the background. And then you also have the ability to skew or adjust the order. So if I need to move something forward, bring something backwards, I do have that ability here with ordering them. Any questions on mood boards so far?
Let's see. My mood board isn't allowing me to add items from my library.
Okay. If there is something going on, we can definitely submit a support ticket. But this is how you would be adding items. So you would want to go to My Items, and then this will show you what I have in Breakfast Nook, since this is already assigned to my Breakfast Nook. Maybe I have items that aren't in any room. And then down below, I should have in my library. If you click on this drop down, it should show you all of the items that you have clipped in your library, even if they're not assigned to this specific room.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone is having issues adding items to their mood board from their product library, definitely open a support ticket. That is in the bottom right corner of your homepage in Houzz Pro. Ways to contact support, or to the far left under, yep, right there. To call, submit a ticket, and you can also chat, sorry, on the right-hand side, the little green chat bubble as well.
Yes, and our support team is here to help. So if you're not seeing these items, let us know, please. And then just to show you, so as I'm in the mood board, I clipped a couple of images for these products. I can toggle through and decide which item I want to bring into my mood board. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm having an issue maybe adding to my mood board. There we go. And then here is that item that I can go ahead and add in as needed. And then I do get my rulers, my guides, so it kind of shows me so I can position this exactly in the mood board where I need it. Other items that you can add to your mood board. So we do have brand catalogs. Our first brand catalog that we have is the Home Depot. So you can always search via this search bar, or we do have this categorized. So this will search their library, and then you can go ahead and add these items to your mood board directly. Source is going to be items from the Houzz Marketplace. So we can always go through and add different items that are available on the Houzz Marketplace. And then you do have your filter categories here. Some of you might recognize that this is updated, new and revamped, so it's a lot easier to filter through the different items. Idea books, I can pull in images from my idea books. I can also upload an image directly. So these were images that were uploaded directly to my mood board. They weren't clipped. It will show those images here if I want to add them maybe to another page in this mood board. Or if I click my upload option, I can upload it from computer or by image URL. And then here I'll have my paint swatches. So again, Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore. And then once I click on a paint swatch, it will show here with the swatch details. You do have the option to hide swatch details if needed. So just this little checkbox here. And then last but not least, we have 3D floor plans. So if you've created a 3D floor plan for your client and you want to add that 2D view into the mood board, you do have the ability to add that by clicking on this 3D floor plan button, and it will show you all available floor plans that you can add in. Before we move on to showing how to share the mood board with your client, do we have any questions on adding items or creating the mood board?
We did have some questions. Can you add images saved in your client's profile, or can you only add images from the product library? Also, can you add images from a client's idea book? Another one about idea books.
Yes, you do have the ability to add from your idea books here. So click here, and then I can go ahead and add the images from my idea books. If your client has shared their idea book with you, it should show up here. And then you should have those available as well if they've been shared with you. In terms of a photo that your client has on their profile, there wouldn't be a way to add it from their Houzz profile. You could save it to your desktop and then upload it from your computer. Or if you are on like a vendor site, or you just want to like pull in a photo and not save it to your library, if you do right click on an image, we can go to, let's see. Okay, so if I click into this item, if I right click here, I'm going to copy image address, and then I can go to my mood board, and then I can, under images, I can go ahead and upload from URL. Oh, looks like this one's not compatible, but you can put in that URL and it will allow you to upload the image from that URL into your mood board. depending on the permissions of the vendor. So it looks like they do have it blocked, but most vendors will work. And then to look at the actions menu, you can create a new mood board directly from here. You can duplicate this mood board if needed. So maybe I wanted to just make a couple of changes. And then I also have the ability to save it as a template if I'd like. The template, what I see this used for the most is creating like a blank mood board. You add your logo in and then you save that as a template to use for your future projects. Print and download. So this will give me the options to either print or download via PDF or JPEG. And then I do have the ability to share this with my client directly. This drop down here, I can just publish it to their dashboard. If I do send it to the client via Houzz Pro, it will share to their dashboard as well. So if I click share, and then I'm going to share and copy the link. This will also share it to the dashboard since I've already clicked to share it. And then of course, if I send this, this will now be visible on that client dashboard, and I can always click on this drop down. And now I see the option to remove it, so I know that it has been published. Are there any other questions on the mood boards?
Is there no connection to the images uploaded into my Houzz Pro account already?
I mean, depends on where your images are uploaded. But for the mood board themselves, the only things that will be linked will be images uploaded to products. So whether you use the product clipper or if you manually uploaded it to your item list, or if you have like this image section, if you've already uploaded it to that page, it will show here. We can definitely submit that as feedback if you want like to elaborate on where in your Houzz Pro account were you uploading those photos and what do we need to link it to.
Great. I think that's it for right now.
Okay, cool. I'll go back to our project. And then we can take a look at proposals. So just to kind of show a little bit of the difference of what the proposal looks like from the retainer. So as you can see here, I have two proposals in this project. This top proposal here has already been invoiced. A proposal that has been invoiced will be locked for editing, so I can no longer go in and edit that proposal, but I can edit it on the invoice section. But for this demo, we'll go ahead and look at this draft proposal so we can see what this looks like. Again, you'll notice the similarities. So there is that consistency from document to document, which is really nice. It gives you that professional edge. So you have your business information here. I have my client information. I can name my proposal, and then this will just give me that proposal number. Again, I'll have the date that I created this proposal, and then I can go ahead and add in the due date. I again want this due on Friday. And then here I can view all of the items for my proposal. As you can see, these items that have been added to my document do not have images. If I want to add an image, I can simply click in and then add up to 5 images here. Maybe I want to add a description. And then once I save this, that description will be there for my client to see. This is actually part of a group. So this custom banquet is a group. And then you can see I have all of the items within my custom banquet here. And then that will cause or create the total cost here for that banquet item. And then I do have these sub items hidden. I only want my client to see custom banquet up at the top here. Groups can be created directly from the proposal itself, so I can create a new group. Maybe I need to say custom chair. And then I want to add in fabric. And then I can always add new items to this. And then I can decide, do I want to add it above my existing item or below, so I can organize this section here. And then it creates that group for me. On the proposal itself as well, so this is another way to be adding items. So Automate AI is our AI tool. Maybe I want to tell Automate to add a lighting line item to my proposal, quantity 1, cost 500. And then I'm going to generate this item with AI, and then AI will go ahead and add that to my proposal. Maybe I want to say, I want to add this to dining room lighting for the category, and then we'll go ahead and add this to our proposal. My items, so again, very similar. It will show me all items in this project. And then I can also look at items in my library. If I add this item to my proposal, you'll see here that it will show that I have 2 photos, and the client in their view will be able to click through and see the multiple images. Again, brand catalog, same thing here. We can go ahead and search the Home Depot catalog if needed. And then I can also pull items from any templates that I have created or any recent proposals that I have created. So this is really nice if, maybe I created another proposal, it has some items on it that I need added to this document. I can just go ahead and find that proposal and then add that item. Are there any questions on adding items to the proposal?
Yes, we have. So I could create a group called Upstairs Bathroom Plumbing and then add items, or create an allowance like proposal prior to getting into the specifics of the room board.
Yes, I mean, you could create a group that's upstairs bathroom plumbing, and then within that group, you have all items needed within the upstairs bathroom plumbing, yes. And then you can hide those specific items. I know a lot of times we don't need our client to see all of the items that are within this group. I just need them to know it's the custom bathroom plumbing or the custom banquet, and then they'll just see what that total cost is.
And then we have, what is the advantage of creating a group versus listing everything as a separate line item?
The nice thing about groups, so you can see here with my custom banquet, for one banquet, I'm going to need 30 yards of fabric. I need, there's 1 flat fee, 1 custom bench. If I go ahead, maybe I want 2 custom banquets and I adjust this, it will automatically adjust the cost based on the quantity and unit of each of these items. So it just kind of groups everything in there together. And then if you do have, like, maybe the jacquard fabric I have from a specific vendor and I'm getting the custom bench cushion from a different vendor, when I'm going to create my purchase order, the system will automatically separate those out by vendor. So it just keeps it more organized. And then you just kind of show the client, this is the price for that custom banquet. And then you have all that organization within there.
Great. And then proposals, they cannot be exported as a spreadsheet, correct? Just as a PDF, I believe.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You can download them as a PDF.
Okay. And then we did have two questions on what the client sees, and one question was on everything that you've shown so far. Will the pro get notification that the client's opened, looked at the mood board, or opened the retainer request?
I'm not sure on if you get notifications if they've opened it. We can check on that. I do know that it shows in the activity stream of the document, but we can definitely find out from our product team and follow up on that one.
Great. And is there any type of client training for them to use the client dashboard, things like that? I don't believe we have any training videos for the client, so that's...
Yeah, that's definitely great feedback. We did just have a client dashboard revamp, so we can definitely submit that feedback.
Great. Okay, I think that's...
And then something else that I do want to point out in here for any of these items, let's say maybe the workroom labor, it was $2,500. I just got a call. They're actually upping this to $3,000. I can click into any of these items and adjust the cost just by clicking and then adjusting. I don't have markups listed here, but maybe I have just a set markup on this document. If I click on these three dots here, I can set a default value. And then I'll go ahead and click save. And now every single item on this document is going to have that set markup. My columns are a little bit condensed, but this is my shipping column. So if I need to add in a shipping cost, I can. Maybe I do know for this custom banquet, the shipping is going to be, let's see. Oh, I minimize that. The shipping is going to be $200. Then I can add that that's $200. And now that's going to be added onto the proposal. This is my taxable column here. So this is how the system knows if we need to assign a tax. So if you click on this drop down, you'll see I can tax either the item, shipping, or both. And then same thing as the markup. If I click on my three dots, I can go ahead and set a default value. I just want it to be the item. And then I'll go ahead, click save. And now every single line item is going to have the item selected as taxable. Again, we see this I with the line through it. I know we don't want our clients to see our markup. They don't need to see this taxable column. This is only visible to you because you need to be able to adjust these columns and this pricing in order to accurately quote this to the client. If you do want to adjust your column view, if you click on this customize button, here is where we can turn on or off different sections. And then you can even create your own column if needed. As I scroll down to the bottom of my proposal here, so I'll see my totals column. I have my tax rate set. Maybe I have a different tax rate. Maybe I'm in Irvine. This client's in Irvine instead of LA. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my Irvine tax rate, and that way it will adjust on the document. And then the client is going to be accurately quoted and billed. One thing to point out, so we do have markup hidden. We do have shipping hidden. It is showing in the totals column, but you will see when we go to preview this, those will be hidden and the client will just see that subtotal, tax, and total. You can add a discount on the proposal as well. So if I wanted to do a percentage off or a fixed amount, maybe I'm giving this client 10% off and I want them to see that on this document, you can go ahead and add that on. And then again, here you have your processing fees. This will default to your company and project defaults, but you can always adjust it on the document if needed. Here we have our payment schedule. I can request a deposit. Maybe I want them to pay 25% for deposit, and the due date, I want it to be the 16th. I'll click create, and then there's that deposit. Here I can save this as a default. So if on every proposal, I'm going to have a 25% deposit, I can set that as my default. And then here I can toggle on for my payment reminders. So again, this will automatically send them that reminder. You can also edit your reminders through this automation setup just by clicking that lightning bolt and then edit. And then my client reminders are here. And again, my thank you messages. And then again, similar to that retainer, we have files so I can upload from my project, my computer, my Google Drive if I have that integration, terms and conditions, my memo. And then here I can also opt to require a client's signature for the approval of this proposal. Are there any questions on our edit view of the proposal before we move into the client view and what they see?
We did have a couple questions on shipping about setting a shipping percentage rather than an amount on each line item.
We don't have that ability yet. Definitely can submit feedback for that.
Great. And then processing fees are only if they pay online through Houzz, not if they, if there's a fee to do a direct bank transfer through your bank. That depends on your financial institution, or if they send a check, then great, no fees. But the online fees are privy just to Houzz Pro Online payments.
That is correct. Yes. Yeah. So even if you're logging a payment, there's no processing fee. It's just if your client is clicking pay now on that financial document and paying online.
Great. I think we are good on questions.
Cool. So I'm going to click preview. Always, always, always recommend previewing your document. You want to make sure that this is exactly what we want to send to our client. So I do have my customize what my client can see. Maybe I want to show them the detailed pricing. So now they can see the price of each item. Columns, I'm going to hide this quantity and unit column. Maybe they don't need to see that. Or maybe I do want them to see it. Again, totally up to you. Item details, I don't have a lot of item images, so I can go ahead and hide those. And then I just have my line items, or I can keep them. So again, you can completely choose this. If I don't want them to pay online for whatever reason, I don't want that pay now QR code on the PDF, you now have the option to turn that off. And then approval, electronic signature, or approve per line item, you have that here as well. I can send this directly to my client through Houzz Pro, or I can copy the link via this link. I also have this link here, and then my client can go ahead and review the proposal. Oh, sorry, it looks like my internet timed out. And then this is what they will see. They will have the online payment option here if you do have that turned on. So bank transfer, and then they'll see the transaction fees, credit or debit card. They can put that in as well. Or they can just scroll to the bottom and then click to sign. And then just one more step, make sure they're clicking that approve and sign button, and then that will approve the document. And the document will be good to go. Are there any questions on proposals?
Let's see. Is there an ability to send to more than one email? For example, a husband and wife, they both receive the proposal via email.
Yep. So same thing with the contract. You have this to field. I can add in multiple email addresses. I can add in multiple in the CC field as well.
Great. And I've thrown a couple Help Center articles in the chat on different topics that have come up. Last one I threw in there was offsetting the online payment fees to your client. So that'll give you a step-by-step on that.
Cool. And then one thing I do want to point out, so you may remember earlier during our demo, we looked at retainers. We took a $5,000 retainer. Maybe I want to apply that to this deposit. If I go to log payment, it will show me that I have this retainer available. I can do the full amount, or maybe I just want to do $2,500 from that retainer. And then it will show that it will create me a new payment schedule for the remaining amount. But I can easily apply that retainer to any document within this project. And then when we're ready, oh, sorry, was there another question?
Yes, we had one other question. How to have the owner's name, the designer's name, always at the top of the proposal as default and not the person who creates the proposal.
Yep. So let's see. Let me reopen this for editing. So because they signed and approved, this is now locked for editing. If I reopen this, just as a heads up, this will now remove that e-signature. So this will tell you that it's going to remove the e-signature. If you do have to reopen it and you want a copy, I would download a copy with that e-signature. But yes, same way that we removed our address, we're going to go ahead and in this section here, click on our pencil. And then we can remove this. So this was something that I had added to my account, but I can go ahead and just remove this. So then it's not going to be there for me anymore. If I want to add, let's say like the designer name, I can add another field. And then I can say, let's see. And then I can put whatever that designer's name is. Maybe Andy was the designer. So then I can adjust that.
And do they have to do this each document each time, or is there a default setting so that always populates, whoever's creating the proposal, it always populates to the same name?
They would have to update it. I believe this TM name is going to pull in the team member that is creating it. Okay. So if you do want the designer's name to show, you would have to add that in unless the designer is creating it under their login.
Okay. And we can submit that as product feedback, product request to have maybe like a global company setting or default setting for that.
Yes. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead now and create this into an invoice. What you might notice, invoices are going to look very similar to our proposal. So the way that we navigate an invoice, add items to an invoice, it's all the same. But this will now say invoice from my initial proposal. Again, I can change this, and then this will now give me a new invoice number. So this is now an invoice number from that proposal. It will show me that it's partially paid. And then I do have my linked document here. So for whatever reason, I need to go back to that proposal. I have this quickly linked for me. You'll also see this linked here. So I can always, again, access that proposal. This is especially nice if I have multiple items on an invoice that might be from different proposals or from different documents. This will show me exactly what document this is linked to. With an invoice, you can add items to it, remove items, edit it, make any changes that you want until you issue the invoice. If you issue the invoice, which you do under actions, then it will lock that invoice for editing. We don't really advise to issue the invoice until you're completed with it. You have no more edits to be made. But if you do issue it and you do need to make edits, you can simply void and duplicate it, and then go ahead and make the edits that you need. I can also just duplicate this to another project or this project. I can duplicate my document, and then you have your download options. You can export to Excel now, it looks like, actually. So that is, I think, a new feature that we've added. And then you can download your tear sheets. If we scroll down, same thing on this document. So we'll have our total column, and then we have our payment schedule. One thing to note, if your client is paying online, you'll just want to make sure that this is the exact dollar amount that you want them to pay each time. When they do go to pay online, there is no option to make a partial payment, since you do have the ability to create this payment schedule. Again, if I just need to add another payment line item, just schedule a payment, and then I can adjust this as needed. And then maybe I want to log the rest of my retainer, so I can go ahead and apply the remaining amount. And then it will, again, create that new payment item for me. And then we have our files, terms, conditions, memo. The only thing different here, we don't have that e-signature option. And then same thing, we can preview this before we send it to the client. We have our viewing settings here. And then we can send this to the client, and we can add multiple email addresses if needed, and then go ahead and send that to them for review. Are there any questions on the invoice?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. I know it looks very similar to proposals, so it was kind of a quick section to get through. But Andy, I will turn it over to you for our QuickBooks section.
Great, thank you. Yes, so let me share my screen. Okay. All right, so I did see some names in the chat that are here for our webinar that I recognize. I've probably talked to you in the past about QuickBooks integration. I am now with our product marketing team. So any QuickBooks related feedback, please send my way. Post it in the chat if you have any feedback, questions, anything like that. But let's go ahead and dive into our QuickBooks integration. So to get to your QuickBooks Online dashboard and settings, you are going to navigate over here on the left-hand side to your financial hub. Under accounting, you will see QuickBooks Online dashboard. And if you are not connected, if your Houzz Pro account is not connected to your QuickBooks Online account, you'll see this screen with our training video, as well as a few steps, some settings to verify in QuickBooks, such as setting up automated sales tax, turning off some automation settings, turning on purchase orders if you're going to be integrating those. And then last is to connect to your QuickBooks Online account. For those of you not familiar with the integration, we do only integrate with QuickBooks Online and not desktop. The integration is also a one-way sync. So data is pushed from Houzz Pro, that's documents, customers, all of that, payments, all things push from Houzz Pro to your QuickBooks Online account. So once you are first connected to your QuickBooks account, you're going to see the dashboard. I'm actually going to come back to this in just a minute because what I want to show you is the QuickBooks Online settings. This is very important to make sure when you first connect to your QuickBooks Online account that you update your settings. When you first connect, everything will be default accounts. You'll see these Houzz Pro default accounts created in your QuickBooks. So you want to make sure you complete your mapping. We have up here, let's say you've been using Houzz Pro for the last year or two. You're just now integrating with QuickBooks. You can historically sync your Houzz Pro transactions from whatever date you want by adjusting this date here. But before you do that, like I said, you want to go through and update your settings. So we have here payment mapping. This is going to determine if your deposits, your proposal, or your retainer payments are pushing over as unapplied. They'll show as income in your QuickBooks financial reports until you've applied them to an invoice in Houzz Pro. They'll be applied to an invoice, the same invoice in QuickBooks. Or we now have the option, actually, we've had this for a little bit, but this was a highly requested feature, the ability to map those deposit payments as a liability to, say, like a customer deposit account. So that's the differentiation here between sales receipts and unapplied payments. And then we have your deposit account. This is going to be your checking account where you're actually physically depositing those checks from your clients, or if you're set up with Houzz Online Payments, where the bank account that you're set up to receive that those funds. And then we've got, this goes back to our sales receipt mapping, payment mapping, your liability account. Very important. If you are using the sales receipts, you want to make sure this is a true liability account, such as the default, the Houzz Pro Retainer Deposit account, or if you have another account set up in your QuickBooks. And then we have the bill pay account. So when you go into a purchase order in Houzz Pro, you mark that purchase order billed, you record the payment you've made to your vendor. This is simply the bank account you are paying your vendors from, and then the credit card that you pay your vendors from. And I know this comes up a lot, especially with credit cards. Yes, we will. It is on our roadmap to have the ability to map to multiple cards or select a different credit card. You know, maybe you have American Express, Citibank MasterCard, and a Visa card. So we will have that coming out hopefully sooner than later. So you can choose from the purchase order which credit card, or maybe you have different bank accounts, things like that, where you're going to be, what card you're going to be paying that vendor from. And then we have our tax mapping. This is simply to track any vendor paid tax. So if you pay tax to a vendor you purchase from a retailer, you can mark your items on your PO as taxable. When that vendor bill is created, when you mark it billed and record payment, it's going to show in QuickBooks a line item for that vendor tax, which enables you to track it if you need to take a deduction or simply just want to know how much you've paid in vendor tax. And then we have our accounts payable account right here. Houzz Pro AP account is an accounts payable account, so you can leave that or switch it to your regular accounts payable account, but they're the same exact type of account. And then we have our document sync exceptions. So you can choose to turn off purchase order sync. If you don't want purchase orders or payments on POs to push over to QuickBooks, you can simply turn that off here, as well as change orders will be off by default. And then you have the option to split out in QuickBooks your markup from your cost. Obviously, many people are not wanting their client to see their markup, but if you're sending your document from Houzz Pro, that's what the client is seeing. In QuickBooks, you can split it out, so you'd have your cost of your product, and then the next line item will be the markup for that product. So you can get very granular in your QuickBooks account. Then coming over here, you have product mapping. We have our custom mapping. Let's say, you have your default accounts for your product income, and then your product expense, which is typically cost of goods sold. The sync, again, is one way, but when you are connected, you will see into your QuickBooks chart of accounts. So you can see the available accounts to pick from here. You can see I've got sales of product income, painting income, things like that. And then you can break out your mapping. So the way it works is you have your categories set up in Houzz Pro. When you clip or create a new item or product in your product catalog, if you want the custom mapping, you want to make sure that product or that service is tied to a specific category. Here in our product and service mapping, the category is then mapped to whatever you want in QuickBooks. So I created kitchen and bath income in QuickBooks, and kitchen and bath cost of goods sold. I mapped my kitchen and bath category here. So any product that I sell or if I purchase on a PO, it is going to show up in your profit and loss statement in QuickBooks under these specific accounts. And that's simply to just give you a more granular report in QuickBooks. Maybe you want to see how you're doing in flooring sales or kitchen and bath sales. You can see that on your profit and loss statement in your QuickBooks account. And then we have over here, same thing. This is going to be your service mapping. So you've got your defaults up here. Shipping, this is shipping from line items where you add shipping to a specific line item. And then our custom mapping again down here. And let's see, we'll go back to the dashboard, but do we have any questions about mapping right now?
I haven't seen any questions come through yet on mapping.
Okay. All right. So going back to the dashboard. So we created the QuickBooks Online Sync dashboard to enable you, the user, to be able to troubleshoot or see the sync status of your specific documents, payments, things like that. You'll see here we have up to date. So it last synced today, or I'm sorry, the 6th, because I haven't created any recent documents. You'll see down here, you've got your bill payments. Again, payments are recorded on POs in Houzz Pro. In QuickBooks, it is a bill payment. So you can see here, I chose to not sync this to QuickBooks. So it says, you know, what the detail is right here. We've got sync complete on these documents, my proposal, purchase order, and my vendor bill. You have all of your filters up here that you need. And then if, let's say that there was a sync issue, let's say this proposal, I synced over to QuickBooks and then accidentally deleted out of QuickBooks. I go record a payment. We've now got an error message. You'll see up here a red bar indicating that there's sync issues with a link to click. And then under the details, it will tell you the specific issue or sync issue. Maybe the books were closed in QuickBooks and an older document can't be pushed over. So we designed that so you can troubleshoot yourself and not have to get on the horn with support and wait for somebody to try and figure out how to fix it. Okay, so let's jump into a document. We'll see how it looks on the QuickBooks side. So I have here my proposal. In each document, proposals, invoices, and purchase orders, you will see a sync status indicator in the document. When I first create a document, it does not sync to QuickBooks. It is in draft mode. So you have a few options. You can click the not ready for sync and just sync the draft version. Also, when this proposal is approved, when a payment is recorded on any document, when an invoice is marked issued, that will sync it over to QuickBooks. So there's some actions that automatically push it over for you. Your client approves this proposal, same thing. Or you can just sync the draft version. And that sync status will, let's see, there we go. Usually it'll say sync in progress, and then it will say, of course, sync complete. That's what we want to see. Again, if there's an issue or an error or a reason that this document could not push to QuickBooks, it will show red and say failed to sync with a link to your dashboard. So you can easily go to the dashboard from here and see what the issue is. So let's go over, I'm going to jump over to QuickBooks so you can see that proposal. And there we go. It's right there, document number, everything. It'll have the same details that are on your proposal in Houzz Pro will be on the estimate in QuickBooks. Now let's see if we want to log a payment. So we are going to say they paid by check. I'm going to go to the 20th. And of course you can send a receipt to your client, change your reference number, all of that. We're going to say done. So you've got your payment information down here, of course. Some of you had asked about the activity stream. That's down here at the bottom of the document. And let's just jump over to our QuickBooks account. And let's see, of course, maybe my payment hasn't pushed over yet. So what you'll see, because I mapped to sales receipts, you would see a sales receipt here in your QuickBooks account under the client. And then, yep, there we go, right, sync in progress. And then again, once that is complete and updated, you would see the sync complete. And if we come here to our QuickBooks bank feed, okay, there we go. So now you have that match right there. We've got our sales receipt, and you can just go ahead and click match. With the QuickBooks integration, you want to make sure you are matching your Houzz Pro transactions. The biggest issues I see are when a bookkeeper or an admin person or somebody's going into QuickBooks and just categorizing and adding transactions that technically should be matched. If something is not matching in your QuickBooks bank feed, you want to make sure you figure out why. Lump sum payments. If two clients pay you online the same day, you will have one lump sum deposit through your bank. You can simply click any transaction, click the match button in QuickBooks, and then select those two payments so you can match them up appropriately. And we have more information on that. If you have further questions on the QuickBooks bank feed, please contact support. We can send you some how-to videos on that so you understand fully how it works so you don't have a mess in your QuickBooks account. You can see here my bill payment that pushed over from Houzz Pro. I would just match that right there. And going back to, let's see, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So the last things I wanted to mention with our QuickBooks integration is we do offer 30 days of free support if you are new to the integration and if you have never utilized one of our integration experts. So you have that at your disposal. Please use it. Please have your accountant schedule a call so you can learn how it works, how they can learn how it works, and you get set up properly from the get-go. Outside of that, we do offer the QuickBooks integration support as an add-on to your account.
Andy, we do have a couple of questions. What is the difference between vendor mapping and subcontractor mapping to apply on a PO?
So we introduced the vendor mapping in Houzz Pro. We used to have it where you could edit a vendor and then map that specific vendor to a specific vendor in your QuickBooks account. It's now in your integration settings. So you can map, let's say you have Crate and Barrel, and in QuickBooks, you have Crate and Barrel Inc. You can take your Houzz Pro Crate and Barrel vendor, map it specifically to the one that exists in QuickBooks. With subcontractors, we don't really have, it's all kind of just lumped under like the vendor mapping. So you're taking a Houzz Pro vendor and mapping it to a QuickBooks vendor.
And then one more question. Just to be clear, even though it's one way, you make payment of check in QuickBooks.
So yes. So if like your physical payment to your vendor is done outside of Houzz Pro. So maybe you are writing them a check, you're paying them online via bank transfer, or they have a credit card on file. You're simply recording the payment in Houzz Pro. If you write a check to your vendor, you can record that payment on your PO, choose the option for check. It's going to create a bill payment in your QuickBooks account out of your checking account. And then all you really have to do is just print it. If you do like regular check runs or you're paying like every Friday, paying your vendors, there's an option on the PO when you record payment to say, okay, I'm recording payment in Houzz Pro, but don't sync a payment to QuickBooks, just sync a bill. Then you can go into QuickBooks and go to your bill pay section and say, okay, I'm paying this bill, this bill, this bill, because it will create an unpaid bill in QuickBooks. Then you could do your check run or pay, online or however you want to handle it. So you have options there.
Perfect. Thanks. Those were the questions that we got for QuickBooks. Awesome. And then let me reshare my screen So bear with me. Okay. Can you see my screen, Andy?
Yes, we are good in your project.
Cool. So the next thing that I would love to talk to you guys about is financing through Figure. So Figure is a home equity line of credit financing option that you can offer to your clients. If you come under this financials tab here, I just hover over it. Here I have this HELOC by Figure. And then this will tell me all I need to know to offer this to my client directly. So they can get approved for up to $400,000. Again, it is that home equity line of credit. We do know that there's more than 20% of homeowners who are financing to do their remodels, and over half of them are using that home equity line of credit. So now you can offer this directly through Houzz Pro. There is an option to show this HELOC payment as an option when you're sending an invoice, a proposal to your client. If you do not want this to show on the document, just uncheck this box and then that will not show as that payment option. And then you can always learn more directly through this link. Again, under your financial tab, just click on HELOC by Figure. Do you have any questions on the project financing?
No questions.
Cool. And then last but not least, we're just going to look at the time and expenses feature in Houzz Pro. So a few different ways that you can log time and expenses. Some of you might be familiar with this stopwatch here, so we can clock in and clock out for different time entries. You can do this directly through your app as well. Simply click clock in. And then this just knows I've been working on this project, so it's going to auto-populate for me. And then I can put in whatever my service is. Maybe this is admin. And then I can put in a description. And I'm going to go ahead and click clock in. Now I have this time clock going. And then I can add multiple time clocks. I can always clock out as well. Maybe I just want to log this directly on my project. So when you're in your project, in your management section, you will see this time and expenses option. So here are some time entries that I have logged on this project. So I have my design rate. This was to finalize the furniture layout. You can see this is 2 hours. This is my rate and that total. Here I was ordering some samples. That's my admin rate. I needed to source and create that initial mood board. And then I also needed to measure that dining nook. So all of these are logged by myself on this project. Let's say that I need to add a new entry, not this time clock. I just didn't use the clock. I forgot, or I just need to add in that entry. I can simply click new entry. I'm going to say it was reported by me. I'll put in my design rate. Maybe this took me 1 hour. I was just doing mood board edits. So I'm going to source and create mood board version 2. And then I'll go ahead and save that. And now my new entry has been added here. You'll be able to see the totals up at the top once they have been invoiced. And then if I toggle over to expenses, I'll see my expenses on my project. So I have my printing and presentation materials here. I'm not billing this to my client, but I do still want to see that this was an expense that I incurred on the project. Travel to site, I need that mileage reimbursement. Client lunch. Here I noticed, I added this as billable. I'm actually not going to bill my client for that, but that is still something that I need to show as an expense on this project. I need to go ahead and edit this. So you can edit any of your time and expense entries. Just click on the 3 dots, click edit. I can uncheck that billable, click save. Now this is not billable. And now my total non-billable has updated here. When I'm ready, I can go ahead and invoice the items needed. So I'll go ahead and add these items to an invoice for my client. Maybe I also want to lump these in with my time entries as well. Just give my client one invoice. I can toggle back over to my time and then invoice all of these items together. So this is now showing me I'm going to create an invoice for these 7 items. I can add to that existing invoice that we were already on. So this will give me the option to add to any open invoices on the project, or I can create the invoice from scratch and then again go through this same invoice flow with my client, send this over to them, and collect that payment. Sometimes you want to see your time and expenses maybe across all projects. If you hover over your search magnifying glass, under management, you have your time and expenses. And then here we can look at this again across all projects, across all date ranges. So I have my projects here. I can look at this for specific team members. I know some of you have multiple team members. Maybe you need to see for just one team member versus all of them. You have your date range here that you can set. So maybe I just want to look at this month. And then you can also select the services as well. Manage time services. Here's where you can go to manage your services and your rates. Again, if you have multiple team members, you can do this by team member. Maybe different team members have different rates. You can go in, click on your pencil, and then you can adjust this accordingly. Maybe this is $200. I can go ahead and save that. And then I have that time entry created. And then under actions, and you can do this on the project level as well. So I can import time entries, or maybe I want to export this to Excel. I can export those time entries as well. And then I can always just create a new entry from this all time and expense page if needed. Are there any questions on time and expenses?
No, we do not have any questions.
Cool. Well, that was all that I have today, Andy. I'm not sure if you have any last little bits to share.
Yeah, I don't think so. Any last minute questions from anybody? We did mention you will get a recording of this emailed to you. So anyone that came in late or people that had to jump off a little early, everyone will get a copy of the recording. If you have any other specific issues, definitely feel free to reach out to support through your account, and we'll take note of the product requests and things like that. But yeah, I think that's it.
Well, thanks so much, everyone, for attending.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.